Are you thinking of getting into wildlife photography? Or maybe you're already a wildlife photographer that owns tons and tons and tons of equipment? In this video, I'm going to go over equipment that you absolutely must have in order for you to be a wildlife photographer, a successful wildlife photographer. Let me put it that way, without breaking your bank. Let's jump into it. Let's see things we absolute must have: equipment, lenses, cameras that you need to be a successful wildlife photographer. And also in a minute, I'm going to speak to you about how you can get all these fancy long lenses and the cameras that you need without killing your wallet. Hey guys, I'm a fashion and a wildlife photographer from New York, and I am here to make photography easy. Okay, let's talk about lenses first. What do we want our lens to do as a wildlife photographer? And the reason why I ask you this question is because as a fashion photographer, I have different needs for my lenses, and as a wildlife photographer, my needs towards the lenses are slightly different. Yes, they are different. So what is it that we really want from our lenses? But before I can answer that, let me ask you another question. What is it that your client wants? I can guarantee you, your client does not want a little speck of a wolf or a horse or whatever animal you're shooting in their frame, right? They want you to be closer. They want to be able to see that animal. And in order for you to show them that animal at a decent distance, you need a lens that shortens the distance between you and the subject. In fashion, I tell my model where to stand, and I tell her what to do and what not to do. Come walking towards me, and so on and so forth. But in wildlife, animals don't listen to me. Okay, that's number one. Number two, animals are very skittish, right? They don't want to be near humans. So they have their distance. But if your client or your audience or your loved ones are looking for a photograph that they can see something on a horse or a bird or whatever, it has to be closer. And in order for you to be closer, obviously you cannot walk towards them, because if you're going to photograph a lion or a predator, you're not going to walk towards it. You will need a lens that's going to shorten the distance between you and your subject. So there are three things that you need, or I should say that I require from my wildlife lenses, and one of them is to shorten the distance. Alright guys, let me tell you a story about shortening the distance. So here I am. I had never ever been for a snowy owl shoot in Canada. And when I'm at the farm, the farmer says to me, she normally comes and sits on this fence. I put myself in a position where I think she's going to be fine. But here's the problem. I'm carrying a 200mm lens. And anyone who has done bird photography knows a 200mm lens for a bird is just impossible. It's not a good idea. It's not good. I should have carried a 400. So this is what I got carrying the 200. This is what I wanted. So this is what I got, another one, and this is what I wanted. Now, is this acceptable? Kind of. Have we sold these? Yes, we have. But the clients that I've sold to have also asked me, hey Ijaz, do you have close-ups, like closer shots, photographs, images of the snowy owls? Anyway, I corrected that in my other shoots, but what I'm trying to say to you is the client does not want a spec. I know these are not specs, but at the same time, they don't want a spec. Like, you know, if I had taken a 100mm, that would be an absolute nightmare. It would not work whatsoever. So what I'm saying is shorten the distance. The first prerequisite a wildlife lens must have is to shorten the distance. Okay, all right, so guys, point number 2, my second prerequisite for wildlife lenses to have is to allow me to shoot at dusk or dawn and allow in tons of light. So that's my prerequisite number 2 for my wildlife lenses. As a fashion photographer. I start my day in the morning at 9 o'clock. By the time the model gets in, does makeup and hair, my first shot does not happen before 12 o'clock in the afternoon, right? But it's controlled. It's controlled because I have my flashes going, or these days I have my LEDs going, and I also know that I'm going to shoot from 9 o'clock in the morning till whatever time in the evening, because we booked the model for X amount of time. The model, the stylist, the makeup, the hair, everybody has a set time. As a wildlife photographer, number one, they don't listen to you, the animals or the birds. Number two, there is no set time. So what do I want from my lens? What I want from my lens is to be able to give me that extra time. And the only way it can give you the extra time is if you have a lens that allows in a lot of light. And why do I want that? Because I can start early in the morning before the sun rises, and I can shoot maybe half hour or 15 minutes after the sunset. All right, guys, so let me tell you guys how you can achieve these long lenses, amazing cameras, without killing your pocket. And I'll tell you that by the end of this video. The third prerequisite that I really want to have is the fact that it has to be super light. For technical reasons, if I'm holding it, I can hold it. That's one of the technical reasons. Relatively light. A 600 lens is going to be, these days have gotten lighter, so I prefer it. So light is number three. Letting in a lot of light is number two. And number one is to shorten the distance. Super important. Now let's go to the camera. Lens is what makes your wildlife photography, not the camera. Okay, I shouldn't say not the camera, I should say the camera is second most important, the lens is number one. Now as far as camera is, if I get 5 frames a second, I'm happy. I am very happy. Anything above 5 frames a second, that to me is winning a lotto. And I do shoot with a Sony A1, A2, and I do get 30 frames a second. Do I use it? I don't. I do not use 30 frames a second. I never spray and pray, number one. So I will watch, and I'll go, I'll just press my button, take it off, and that's all, because I know exactly where I want the photograph. I don't want it this way, neither do I want it this way. I want it here. So when the animal is coming, that's where I'm going to shoot. Or if it is not a planned wildlife shoot, then I am just going to find the best position possible, and most likely I'm positioning myself in front of a bush or a tree. So when the animal shows up, that's all I've got. I've got from here to there. So what I want is 5 frames. Anything over that, awesome, love it. But if I don't, I don't. So that is a prerequisite number one for cameras. The other prerequisite for cameras is it must shoot raw. Now, again, another topic that I know I'm gonna get so many comments on, but do I like raw. I like raw because I like to change things around in post, and raw makes it easier. And I'm not saying JPEG, the images are not good. All I'm saying to you is that the raw helps me, my end product is better, and I have more control over my image, right? So I have a story on raw. One time, accidentally, I was in Montana photographing horses in snow, and I turned it into JPEG, or actually the settings that I put were JPEG and RAW. So I thought. It wasn't, it was just JPEG, and I had put it on the smallest setting of JPEG. So the way I function in my business is I come back to New York, and without cleaning up the images, I send a lot of the images smaller JPEGs. I convert them and then I send them to my clients. And I say, hey, this is what I got. What do you guys think? What do you want? Blah, blah, blah. So I send them the JPEGs. I'm like, this is so cool. I can do it in camera. I don't have to convert them when I come back to the studio. So I sent them the JPEGs. One of the client loved one of the images, calls me and says, I want that one, but I want it to be 4 feet by 6 feet. I'm like, sure, not a problem. I looked and looked and looked and looked and looked, and I did not have the raw, and I thought I was going crazy. And there was no way with the JPEG I could enlarge it to a point that was going to give me a 4 foot by 6 foot image. I lost my sale. So prerequisite number 2 for cameras, have raw. I must have raw. My third prerequisite for the camera is it absolutely must have continuous focus. And yes, even though I focus just a little bit, right? I mean, even though I shoot just a little bit, like the animal is running, boom, that's all I want. From there to there, that's it. Nothing past, from there to there. I still need my continuous autofocus, and that autofocus has to be absolutely unbelievable, because I'm not getting 30 frames. I am literally getting 5 frames because the animal's running so fast. So for that, a continuous autofocus that works is must prerequisite for a camera. So those are the 2 essentials that I think any photographer has to have. When I started my wildlife career, the 85mm was the longest lens I owned because I was doing fashion, right? So 85mm and 50mm, those were my go-to lenses for fashion. Now I'm starting to do wildlife. I mean, not now, but when I did, and I need a 400 and I need a 600. What am I going to do? And the other issue that I had was, in the fashion world, I was shooting medium format. So I was shooting on a Mamiya camera. So I say, okay, I want to be a wildlife photographer. I go and look at what I wanted, and then I go over to B&H. The number was coming close to $18,000 or $20,000 in order for me to have a 600 lens with a camera that goes really fast and blah blah blah. And I'm like, that's a lot of money to start off something. And mind you, yes, of course I'm doing fashion photography, but at the same time, not a wildlife photographer that's making money out of his artwork, right? So I don't want to put $20,000 into it. What do? I call lens rentals. Mind you, this video is not sponsored by lens rentals. It's not. It's just that they are unbelievable. They are amazing rental house. I believe they're located somewhere in Tennessee, and I rented it from them, and it was like nothing. I had taken the lens for, I think, 3 days, a 600mm lens for 3 days, and if I'm not mistaken, it was like $300. And I took a Canon camera those days, I remember. I don't remember which one, but the camera was like another $150. So for $350 for 4 days, you can go capture images, come back, and then sell them. If I'm going out to photograph Arctic wolves, I'm going to take a 600 and a body that gives me 5 frames a second continuous focus raw shooting, right? So I can get that for approximately $700, $800 for the week. Someone who's just starting out can do exactly the same. So there's no reason for you to go buy it. Go do one shoot, come back, sell your image. Key point, sell your image. That is the main important thing about wildlife photography. You want to be a wildlife photographer, learn to sell your images. Once you sold it, you can go buy, or you can rent more. I prefer to rent more. Okay guys, I hope this video has been super helpful to you guys. I do plan on making another video on retouching because we're getting so many requests for that. But it's just tedious. Anyway, I'm working on it, and I'll get that to you guys soon. Hope to see you guys soon in the next video. And for now, goodbye.